Yo guys, welcome to Sip Code, and today we are looking at another cup of code. We'll be looking into something that one of you guys requested or asked about in terms of protecting and storing your database access into a different location instead of the properties files. So we had a question regarding like the data source configuration or data source properties, things like your database URL, your username and the password, and things like that. How do you protect that, or how do you protect like secret keys that you don't want to be exposed in a plain text file, and those type of protection. So basically in this tutorial I'll be running you through how I went about in or how you can go about also achieving this type of behavior in application so that you don't have these configuration of these properties, usernames and passwords exposed in your application. So first things first, what I want to do, I'm going to start up the application with these particular details here, which will mean the data source will point to localhost, which is going to run on my machine. So I want to run as a Spring Boot application. So let's run that and have a look. And I just want to show you here, and the application will start up fine without any issues. So let's just wait for that. Boom. So Tomcat started on port 8080. So we're able to come back to our Postman and let's just point to localhost here. Say localhost. Let's say try login this user, and let's see what response we get. Let's just wait for that. Boom, voila. So now we have a response which we got our JWT. I'm not gonna do much, just want to show you that the application will still function as expected with our configurations still intact. So now what we have here, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop the application, and then I'm going to remove these properties right here so that you can see that they are not even there, not commented out, nothing. So I remove those, and I'm only left with my DLL auto, which is set to update, and I have my Hibernate dialect, which is PostgreSQL. So I am using Postgres, so I'm just going to be left with those two. And if you have a look at the application properties, I do have RCS DB secrets. So these secrets I've already configured in my AWS, which you're going to check right now. So I'll show you how to set all of this up in a few. So now I've switched off the database here, and I'm going to come back to my AWS RDS Secrets Manager configuration file. And in here, I'm going to take you through this code just now, but I want to uncomment the data source bean right here so that we have this method available to create the data source that we need. And just to show you what is going to happen now in the application, let me just show you the secrets here on AWS. So AWS, you just search for Secrets Manager on your management console. So let's see, unified service unavailable, secrets manager. Okay, let me just click on secrets. Let's see. All right, secrets manager. Close that. I'm not sure why it would do that. Secrets. So you just search for secrets manager. It should be available, but I'm not sure why the search is doing that now, which is weird. But yeah, let's just go to secrets because we're already here, and it's failed to fail list. Okay, let me refresh. No internet connection. Let's see. Let me just check my connection. Let me connect to that. Okay, so it was just my Wi-Fi that disconnected. So now we're back up. So let's click on that. So we should be able to say secret. Yes, Secrets Manager. So you can just click on Secrets Manager there, and it'll take you to your secrets. And if you don't have any, then the list will be empty. So now I want to show you the database secret, which is this one, Springbank DB. And you can see this is the secrets details. AWS Secrets Manager, that's the encryption key, secret name, Springbank DB, and this is the ARN of that particular secret. And then let's just look at, we're gonna say retrieve secret value. So we're gonna say retrieve, and we can see what key value pair do we have here. So we have a username, password, engine, host, port, and DB instance identifier, which this will be the database name. So instead of DB instance identifier, you can add it as DB name or database name, so that will still be fine. And now because I have these already, let me just show you on the application side. So you will see over here, this is where we set everything in our data source objects that we just created, which I will show you now. Then we return back the data source object, and then we go back and use it. We use it just here when we now build our data source over here. So let's just run the application, and you will see that it will still start up fine without any issues. And remember, the database configurations have been removed from here, so now it will use this configuration file to create a data source being like that. So let's just look at that, and it should start up now. And boom. Let's see, started on the bank application, port 8080, that's the same thing. So let's go back to our Postman, and we're still on localhost, and we're just gonna run that and see if we're able to log in. Boom. So now we're able to log in, and what's nice is we are no longer on localhost, as we already removed the localhost configuration. Now we are connecting to our database, which is over there on AWS RDS, as we can see here. So it's using all of these configurations to set the database connection and establish our data source. So essentially what we want to do now, I'm going to run through the code base and see how we can achieve this. First things first, we basically want to create a secret. So let's just go here. I'm gonna create a secret for, let me see. No, let me start by explaining the entire code. So we have our secret here, which is created, and with our secret, we have our properties as we want. All of these properties: username, password, engine, host, port, DB instance identifier. So we have all of those available. And then what we want to do in our properties file is now add the secret name that we just created, AWS Vault secret name, and then we want to have the AWS Vault Secrets Manager endpoint, which is basically secretsmanager.region.aws.com, and then we want to have our region set, and we want to have our AIM access key as well as a secret key. So how we get these access keys is basically on your profile. You can just go to secret credentials. Let's go there. So we can go to secret credentials, and you can have your IAM secret credentials or AIM secret credentials, and you can basically then you see access keys, and you say create access key, and then you can use those as you want. So I'm gonna use the same ones because they are still fine for me, but you can basically create access key, and then you say I understand, and you can say create key. Then you're gonna get a key value pair with an access key and a secret key, and you need to store those as you will be using them for accessing and retrieving all the keys within your particular secrets. So you can also give it different roles and all of that, but we are not talking about that here. We just showing you how you can set up uh, your secrets manager. So let's go back to that, and let's now go through the code base. So now that we know how our secrets manager or our secrets is set up in AWS, we can go through the code. So what we want to do is in our POM file, we're gonna need to add a dependency, and the dependency that we want to add is basically an AWS this dependency here, AWS Java SDK Secrets Manager, and basically the group ID is called Amazon AWS. So this is one dependency that we need. We don't need anything else. I know that there might be some other documentation where it tells you to get different dependencies, but this one comes packaged with a lot of the SDK features that you can use to connect to AWS and your secrets manager and handle it that way. So this is the only one that we need, and once we have that available, then we create our class, which is basically a normal class, AWS RTS Secrets Manager configuration. And once we have that particular configuration, we annotate it with the add configuration, and then we take these values from the properties file. So you can see here we use add value, and then we have our string dollar open curly brace, and then we take this property which is the credentials access key, AWS access key, and AWS secret key. So these are all in the properties file. So if you come back here, you can see the access key is this, and the secret key is that, and we also have the region, the endpoint, and the secret name. So these are the first variables that we take or that we retrieve from our properties file. Then once we have those, what we want to do is create our AWS credentials, because we're always going to need them for our request to our AWS account to retrieve whatever we want to have. So our AWS credentials will have basic credentials, and we pass in the access key and the secret key, and then we return the credentials. So this should be enough for what we want to do. And then the next thing that we want to do before creating the data source, so let's just close this for now. Before creating the data source, what we want to do is basically get the secret key or the secret keys from the AWS Secrets Manager that we have over here. So how we get to achieve this, let me see. Oh, now it went to a different region. My region is EU North 1, which is Stockholm. So let's change that to that, and yeah, that's my secret. So this is the secret that we want to get, so we want to retrieve all of these values from there. So the first things first that we do, make sure that everything is surrounded by a try catch block so that you can catch any failures within that particular transaction. So we are returning a w data source parameter, which is basically just a POJO that we created. So let's just open this. Let me just close the POM. So as you can see here, so this POJO basically has host, engine, port, DB instance identifier, username, and password. Just like that. Doesn't have any fancy stuff. It only consists of all the properties that we have within our secret over here. So that's basically that. That's what it has, and what we want to do over here is basically just return that object of our secrets of the database secrets. So that's basically what we want. So now let's get right into the gist of getting our data source details. First things first, we want to have a AWS client builder and endpoint configuration. So our endpoint is basically coming from application properties. So the endpoint is essentially that secrets manager.region, which is eu1.aws.com. That is where we want to go, and we want to also specify the region, which we already given. And then the next thing that we want to do, once we have our endpoint configuration, we want to make sure that we have a AWS Secrets Manager builder, which will give us essentially the secrets management request. So once we have the client builder, what we want to do, make sure that the client builder is the standard one. That's the one that we use. And once we have the standard one, we then able to say client builder.set endpoint configuration, which we then pass the configuration that we gave it right here, and that endpoint should be set up. And then the next thing is essentially creating our AWS secrets, which is the client that we want to run our request on. So we then say the client builder.build our client, and then we'll have an AWS secrets manager. So now our client, we then want to have, after our client is built, we want to have an object mapper, because the data that we're going to get from here is in a JSON format. So if you look at that in plain text, this is how it looks like, and this is how we're going to receive the data essentially. So now let's go back. So now we have our object mapper, which is fine. And then we have a JSON node, which is secrets JSON, which we just initialize to null at this point, and you will see how we're going to set it as we go along. So now that we have our let's say our DTOs set up or declared right here. So these are just our DTOs that have been declared for the data or the response that we're expecting. So then what we do is now create the secret request to AWS. This is where we create this request object for our secrets. So we just instantiate a get secret value request, and we then say new get secret value request with secret ID. The secret name is basically this secret name over here, this secret name right here. This is the one that we want, and it will give us all the secrets that it contains, or secret values that it contains. So that's what we pass in here. And remember, we already set the secret name over here, so we're able to just use this the application properties to get the secret over there instead of hard coding it. So once we got the secret, and then we said with request credentials, because you need to make sure that whoever accesses this is an authenticated user, and that's basically what we expect to happen over there. So once we have our credentials provider, we just say new, we pass in new AWS static credentials provider, and we pass in the AWS credentials that we created at the top. So these are our credentials that we wanted, which is basic credentials, and we pass them over here with our request. So which I want to set the AWS credentials, then we have our request ready for submission. So once this has been set, we want to say get secret result is equals to null. So we declare the response, the results DTO over here, which holds the actual result that we're going to get from AWS. Then we do we surround this in a try catch again, which you don't have to since we have the bigger one, but this might also be more specific into the exceptions that are thrown over here. So I'm just putting a generic exception here because it might be a lot of exceptions that you might have to cater for specifically to this particular call over here. So what we do is just get the service value response, and we say our client that we have built right here on line 77, the client that we built here, want to say get secret value, and if you can see, get secret value points to this secret value here, and this secret value has all of the secrets that we have right here. So in key value pair, all of these secrets that we have over here, it will retrieve all of these, basically take it as the JSON right here. So once we get the secret value and we pass in the secret request that we created here, it will then give us the response that we are looking for. Now we got our response, and we're just making sure that we check if the response is not null, otherwise we return null, and we just take the secret as a string. So we take the response and get secret string, which will be the JSON as we mentioned. Then we say secrets JSON is equal to object mapper dot retrieve, which is then secret. So now the object mapper will then read the tree from the secret JSON string over there, and then it will just give us a sort of a JSON node object like we created over here. So a JSON node object over there. So once we have our secrets JSON available, then we want to be able to use that in our data source param right here. So at this point, just to give you a heads up, at this point over here, you basically now have the data. You can use it the way that you want. In this case, this is what we do. These are just all the checks, but what we do is then instantiate a data source param object that we created, the project that we created here, and we just set all of the values. So the data source set host. So if you can see, I had coded the URL prefix JDBC Postgres. In your case, it might be a MySQL, SQL Server database, any type of database. You can set this in this manner, JDBC PostgreSQL, or the other way also that you can set this up, you can also add the database prefix and things like that, so that you're able to just retrieve the values as you want. And then you basically go to, now what you do to retrieve a value from the response, you want to say the JSON node secrets JSON.get host dot text value. So we're able to get the text value of that particular property. So let's say in this case we want the host, which will then give us this particular value over there, and be able to get the text value of that, and it will be passed in to set the host. And also we are building the host here, so it's the host value, the port. So as the port, you get it as an int value, because you see the port is an int value. And then we also have the secrets. DB instance identifier, which is the database name or the database specifically, and then you are able to get the text value as it is a text. And then the other thing that we set is the engine. The engine is basically Postgres. That's what we're running on. And then we we also set the port, but we already set the host here, so you don't really need to set the port here. But if you need to, it's also nice to have, so it's not a big issue. And then you also have a DB instance, and you set the username and the password just like that. And then you return the data source param just like that. And once we have the data source param, what we do now is create our data source programmatically instead of using the application properties. So then at this point, we essentially just come and create a bin. So our bin will basically be of data source and application data source, or you can name it whatever you want. And then we have a data source param, and that param will just set it to null, and we'll have a try catch because the method does throw an exception over here. So we just cover it in a try catch, and we say param is equals to get secret, and we'll get the secret that we are looking for, which is data source secret in this case. And then if then once this transaction is done, we want to say if param is not null, then run a data source builder dot create, and then we want to set the driver class. We can set the driver class name here, but I'm using Postgres, so my advantage is that I don't need to set a driver class name. It will this is Spring Boot, it will just sort of like figure it out and basically resolve itself. So you can add that for your specific database, as you will need it for your different database according to your specification. And then you basically set the URL, which is the param.getHost, and then we also set the username, which is param.getUsername, and then password, param.getPassword. And once we've set all of the configuration for our data source, then we say build, and then we return that essentially. So this basically will then create our establish our connection to our database, and the application is able to start up and run as expected. And now we're able to connect to the database. And the nice thing about it also is that the database details are now protected and hidden from the plain text, or are no longer exposed to users or people that can basically see this file. It's basically protected within a secrets manager or a vault, if you want to put it that way, within your cloud or whatever vault that you choose to go with. But I'm just showcasing the one that is in AWS. And also these credentials here, you can just make sure that they are limited to access basically these particular secrets and nothing else, so that they are not like fully they cannot access the full account or other services within your AWS account. It only accesses specific resources, and that's basically what we want. And I think I've showcased you how you can create the database and sort that out. And if you want to basically use the same logic, same code to add or application properties, let's just run that. Let's run through that quickly. I'm going to use the same configurations as this. I'm just going to change the secret name because we're going to create a new secret for that. So let's just come back to AWS. Then let's go to Secrets Manager. So now we're going to say store a new secret. And let's see what's going on there. Are we connected? What is going on? Let's just make sure that we are connected. Let's see. All right, so we are connected. Let's just refresh that. Just say store a new secret here. So we're going to create a so with it, the RDS secret, you can basically just click on credentials for Amazon RDS database, and then if you scroll down, you will see that it will show you your RDS database, whichever one that you have. Could be MySQL, could be Postgres, could be any type of database. It will show you over here. Then you just select it and you add the username, password, and then you continue using that particular um, secret, whichever name that you use. So in this case, we don't want to do an RDS. Let's say leave and then store a new secret. So we want to say the type would be other, so that we save whatever we want to save. And in this secret, we want to add, let's see what we have on our application properties. Let's say we want to have JWT, and let's say JWT secret, like that. And we want to say the JWT secret is basically this GUID value over here. Let's set that. Maybe let's add another one. Let's see what we have. Let's say app base URL, or let's just say base URL, or let me just call it app base URL. So let's just do let's take that and let's paste that over there. So localhost 8080, and basically this looks fine. So these two look fine for me. Encryption, AWS Secrets Manager. So now we're gonna say next, and the secret name is basically let's say this secret name will be app config, let's say localhost, right? So that if you want to have like app config test, app config UAT or QA, app config prod, then you'll be able to set up this a similar config or secret, and you'll be able to use that. So this will be application secret for localhost, and that should be fine. Tags, we don't really need tags. Permissions, we don't need that. We don't need that. Then let's just click next. Rotation, we don't need any of that. We can basically just say next, and secret type, secret, boom, secret name, app config, and basically, and also if you can have a look, guys, the configuration of the secret also has different code base, where it shows you how to set it up for different languages: Java, JavaScript, C#, Python 3, Ruby, Go, Rust, and you can basically use this code base to essentially follow up on how to set it up easier. But in my case, I've used a little bit of different code base because I want to make it as generic and as easy as you can see. So let's just say store, because we're using Java, we're gonna be on Java. Sorry about that. Then we're just gonna say store, and we're just going to refresh. And boom, now we have app config localhost secret, and let's just click on that, and now we have that particular config over there. So now when I come to my application properties, let me say what I'm going to do now is app properties. Let's just do app properties cloud secrets. Let's call it that. Then let's paste this. So now we're gonna say app AWS vault dot app. Let's just dot app dot secret name. Or let me just say app properties secret name. I think this will make more sense. AWS vault that, and also the endpoint. I'm not gonna change the endpoint. It's gonna be the same one. The region, I'm not gonna change the region. It's gonna be the same one. The keys, I'm gonna use the same keys. I'm only going to change the secret name, which is basically this secret name over here, which I can copy just like that. Secret name copied, and then I'm just gonna paste it over there. So save that. So now we have the secret name, and we have all of these other details that we need. The only thing we are changing is basically a secret name like that. So now we're just going to create a new class. Let's just say, where can I put this? I'm going to put it in services. Yeah, I'm going to put it in services here. So I'm going to create a new class in here. Let's just create a new class over there. New class. Then we're gonna call this application properties cloud vault, or cloud vault, AWS cloud vault application properties. I think this should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine like this, right? So now the reason why I want to make it a service is because I want to show you that you can basically then reuse this wherever you need it. So now I'm going to say add service. So this one was a configuration because we want to configure our data source, but this one will be a service because we want to use those properties across our application essentially. So I'm just going to copy the entire code inside here to make things easy because this is already explained. So now I'm going to add that in here. All right, so let me just show you what I want to change over here. So let's see, we have that at service cloud vault. So the key, we're still gonna need we're gonna need secret name, we're going to need, but the secret name now needs to be this property from our application properties. So we're gonna take that and let's change the secret name here. Is going to be the application property secret name, which is that, right? And then the endpoint still be the same, the region still be the same. Driver class, we're no longer configuring a database, so we can get rid of this, right? And we do need AWS credentials. The bean, we don't need a bean, a data source bean. We already have a bean configuration, right? So now this is where we need to make the twist of things. So what we want to have here, get secret, we want our get secret to give us a specific property wherever we need it across our application. So how we do this is, let's say string, pass in the key here, and the key will then go and retrieve a specific property that we want from our secret, and come back and give us that particular value. So what we want to do is to have a POJO that have a key or a key value pair. So what I created here is basically an AWS secret, which is a key and a value, just like that. Or you can also have a hash map of string depending on which one you prefer, that will save the key and a value according to what you are retrieving from your store, from your key store, basically. So what we want to do is, now we don't want that, we want this to be a AWS secret key, AWS secret, just like that, because we want to have the key and the value over there. So now we basically do the same thing. We have our endpoint configuration, passing in the endpoint in the region. Then we have a secret client builder, client builder set endpoint configuration, and then we have our AWS Secret Manager, and we build that particular client. And then we have our object mapper and the JSON node, and then we have our request, passing the secret name with our credentials, and then we have our results variable there, and we then pass in the request over here to basically get the values from our secret. And then what we do with that is, once we map the response to our secrets JSON, what we want to do now is, remember that we passed in the key into the method. So what we want to do here, instead of getting all of this, what we want to do now is get an AWS secret. Then we're going to call this let's just call it property, and we're just gonna say new AWS secret, just like that. And we're just going to say property dot set key, which is that key, and then we say property dot set value. Now the value is going to come from secret.json, and we want to get the field by the key that we passed in, and we want to as text. So we want it as text, or we can just say text value, just like that, and that will be a string. So we're basically getting rid of all of this which we do not need anymore. So what we want to do is return the property that we just got over there. And let's see, one thing that we can also do over here is just to check if if secret.json.get let's say key dot text value dot is empty, or secret json.get key dot text value is equals to null. So if it is empty or null, just return null, just like that. So you can basically just say there is no property for this specific key or something like that. Let's just do here to do, let's say, throw validation exception property of key does not exist. So that's basically what you want to do. Property of that specific key that you passed in does not exist. and then return null, things like that. Or otherwise, it will just set the key just like that, and we basically have the property as you expect. So now what I want to do is just add a, because this is a service, just add an endpoint where you can see the value of the property that we're going to read from AWS. So let's go to one of our controllers. No need to create a new one. I'm just going to use whichever one is available. Let's say I can use user, and I can say let's add a get. Let's add a get. I'm thinking if I add a get, okay, let me take the get. It should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. Let me just put that over there. Oh, not yet. Let me just add a dependency injection over here, auto wired, and let's just call cloud cloud vaults properties, and let's just say this will be vault application properties. That, yeah, it looks good. Then what we want to do is then have that over there. Then we want to let's just do property, and that should be enough. And let's say property, and then we'll say get let's say cloud vault property. So if you haven't been following up with this series of the Spring Boot or this project, please do know that there are previous videos where we create all of the entire endpoints here, so you can just follow up with that, so that is not an issue. So what we want to do here is we'll get rid of this, right? So what we want here is add path variable, add path param, let's say property, and we'll just say this is a string property, just like that. And we want to say vault application properties dot get crap, this is not public, so let's just expose this guy, public. Let's just save that. Then let's come back to the controller, and now what we want to do is dot get secret, and we're passing in property. So we want to X, and we want to get the response over there. Let's see what's going on. We can surround with try catch. Yeah, that's fine. Let's say retrieve property, or let's say retrieve vault property here, and then let's just do copy, and let's paste that. Let's just do failed. All right. So now we save that. Everything looks good. Application starting. Application starting. Okay, application started. Now that looks good. So let's see. Let's go back there, and what do we want to do? Let's just do, let's say, duplicate this, and so we're just testing this. Let's say rename vault property by key. Right. So now we are going to say this is property and / let's see what we have on our secret here. Say retrieve. Then we want to take JWT secret. Now let's pass in this guy. Pass in this guy. No message or JWT secret. Wait, what did I do here? Property. Property equals to JWT. Oh, what is this J doing here? That's for not found. Oh, this is weird. Oh crap. I think I know why. Please login. Just make sure that we have our user. That save, and let's do let me see. Okay, get that's property. That looks fine. What did I do here? Request param. Right, property. Save that. Now let's have a look. So request param property, and these can just be removed. Property, just save that. So yeah, so request param property, and it's a string property. Yeah, that looks good. Let's see. So now I have property, and the property is JWT secret. So let's just do, let's see. Let's start up the application, and it should basically come back fine now here. So we wanted to pass this as a request param. Let's do, okay. Application started up. Now we can send these. 4 not found. 4 not found. I think. Oh crap! It is correct. 4 not found because it's in user. I'm busy changing things that do not even need to change. User property that is. User property. Voila. Yes, now it's fine. User property, and the property name basically is JWT secret, and we got the JWT secret, and we got the value back. So let's say now we want to get the base URL of the environment we're in, and boom, app base URL http localhost 8080. So yeah, don't save this. So now we're able to get the property as it is from our vault essentially. So I would say here what I would do, just a side note for you guys, is to make sure that this basically is a singleton, and it populates like a list of all the keys that you have or that you want protected, like API keys and things like that, and you have the key value pair in that list or that map, to make sure that you only call the AWS Secrets Manager once, and you then populate that list, and then you're able to just use that one instance. If this is in a single team, then you can use that one instance to just go to that map and retrieve a specific value, instead of how I'm doing it now, to pass in the key, and then it has to go through all of these and call AWS each and every time I change the particular property, or each time I run the API. So for you within your application, you would want to make sure that this is in a singleton, and you call the secret once, and it populates your map, and you'll be able to retrieve your keys as you need them on your application. So how you get to achieve that, you can comment down below how you can go about it, and we can see how you can also assist other devs in making sure that this solution works for everyone. So the GitHub for this is already in the description down below, so please do check it out. And this application also has a Ionic mobile app tutorial series that we are working with. So changes that we do on the backend side, which is this project here, we also integrate with in the Ionic series. So please do check that out as well. Please do like and subscribe, and do share for any developers that are also looking to utilize similar code. And I hope that you liked. Until the next one, cheers.